Hello makers, and welcome to Share Stitchery. I'm Catherine Harris, and each week I do sewing and DIY tutorials. This week I wanted to share with you the pattern by Rebecca Page, the Arabella skirt. It has an elasticated waist along the back and then a flat band along the front, but gathers within it, so it always looks nice and full. It's a great way to use up some nice flowy drapey fabric that you have in your stash, and it has become one of my go-to patterns, mostly because it is so darn comfortable. So let's get to the tutorial.
Bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum.
The Arabella skirt. So to start, this skirt can be done with wovens as well as knits. It's very beginner friendly and it comes in 3 different sizes: an above the knee, a full maxi, and a just below the knee length. Now onto the pockets and the side seams. So about 1 inch down from the top of your skirt panel, you are going to attach the pockets. Place right sides together and ensure that your pocket is facing down. And then I'm just going to pin these in place and we're going to sew the pockets on, and you'll have 4 pockets and you'll sew 2 to each panel, 1 on either side. And then when that is done, just top stitch the outside and press it flat, just as it's shown here. And then we're going to place right sides together and we are going to sew the side seams. So you just want to pin this in place. I am using a rayon foil, so it is very slippery, so I'm actually using clips instead of pins. And if you would like some tips on working with slippery fabrics such as chiffon, I will leave a link in the description down below, as well as a card up here for you to check out. So you're just going to stitch all the way around this, going all the way down to the bottom of the skirt. And I've also serged the edges on this just to give it a nice clean look. And then you've got your pocket formed inseam. Now onto the waistband. So you're going to take the 2 pieces from your waistband and you're going to attach them together along the side seams. I'm just pinning those in place, and also note that you can use interfacing to stabilize that waistband so that it fits a little bit nicer and is a bit more stable. Next, I pressed under the seam allowance on the one edge, and then we're going to do a long straight stitch going all around the edge of the skirt panels. And you're going to do 2 of these so that we can then pull them and gather them to create those pleats. So going to do that all the way around, so that it fits the perimeter of what the waistband is. So our next step is to grab that waistband that we had just put together and folded, and on the raw edges we're going to place right sides together, and then we are going to stitch them together. So right here I'm just going in and pinning that in place, just making sure I've got my side seams of my waistband lined up with the side seams of my skirt, because I don't want those to be offset, because the way that this works is the back panel is gathered more than the front with the elasticated waistband, so there's a little bit extra fabric in the back than there is in the front. So you're just going to match those up together. And then you're going to head over to your sewing machine and you're going to stitch using your regular seam allowance all the way around the perimeter of your skirt to attach that waistband to the skirt. So once that is done, give it a nice good press. And I also serged all the way around the edges after I stitched them. And then the next thing you're going to do is take it over to your pressing station, and then you're going to press it over so that that folded edge comes right up to the edge that you had just stitched. Now I'm using pins because I want this to be very precise. What I decided to do was hand stitch to this in place, but you can machine stitch it. And if you machine stitch it, just make sure you're very careful in your placement so you're stitching in the ditch of the waistband so you don't see those top stitching lines. And make sure that that seam is pointed up into that seam line. It's also a good idea if you're putting any sort of label on to put the label on your band now before you actually stitch it down in place. We're just going to go all the way around so that we can get that stitched in nicely. And don't forget to leave an opening because we need to be able to insert our elastic inside. Next is tackling the bottom hem. So I just did a double hem, folded that over, and then I'm just going to top stitch that in place all the way around the edge. Next is on the waistband is adding in our elastic through those openings. And so you're just going to use a safety pin and push it through. Well, there you have it. The Arabella skirt. It is a breeze to whip up, nice and quick, and because of the elasticated waist, it is actually quite well in terms of fitting, and there isn't really many adjustments that you need to make on this pattern, as long as you choose the right size. So I hope you enjoyed this pattern, and if you give it a try, please let me know in the comments down below, or if there's any other patterns you'd like me to test out for you. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and show me some love with a like. And you can find me on my other social channels at Stitchery on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Until next time, makers, let's get our Sew-Spiration on.